Hey everyone, welcome to Endless Plot Holes. You're here with Sinthu, and in today's video we're going to do the end of year book tag. I found this book tag through Destiny Sidwell's videos. I will put her video down below and I'm going to be using her questions. Some of them I have slightly tweaked, I think. So I got my handy dandy Kobo with this cute stickers, and I'm really excited to actually start reading on this. I have somewhat kind of dabbled in using this, but not as often as I would like. I'm really excited to get kind of fully into this and immerse myself into reading on sort of a reader instead of like books, because obviously with books you have to carry a whole book around and that can be quite heavy. This is really light and it also fits into anything and everything. I love it so much. But I just haven't picked this up because I've been reading a lot of print books because I had a lot of TBRs for printed books. Next year is going to be this guy. Let's get into the video. So the first question is, what's a book or book series you wish you got into in 2024? Now, I thought a lot about this question, mainly because I don't really keep an expectation for myself to read anything, so I don't plan on reading anything, or I'm such a mood reader as well. Like sometimes I'm like, okay, this book would be nice, but then when I start reading it I don't like it, so I'll move on to something else. That's what happened at the end of 2024. I started maybe 4 books and I have finished none of them. I will eventually finish them, I promise, but I do have some answers though, so I really had to think hard about the year throughout and think about the books I really wanted to get into and which ones I didn't. And the first one was Elsie Silver books, and I'm not going to specify a particular book, but Elsie Silver as a whole as an author, because I've seen her books literally everywhere, but I just didn't want to get into it. And I don't know why, but I'm really excited. Hopefully next year I'll pick up 1 or 2 of her books and maybe I'll find a new favourite author in the future. But her books do seem very much up my alley. It seems very much rom-com-y, a lot of sort of like cookie cutter romances, which I really enjoy and really love. I love cliches. I love the very archetypical romances that people might say, oh, it's a bit unoriginal, it's repeated or whatever. I love that. I love like the yearning and the pining and the courting and the wooing and all of that. It's just one of my favorite things. The next book or book series was Caraval. I did the unfortunate thing of reading Once Upon a Broken Heart first, so I am kind of doing the series backwards, but hopefully it doesn't make too much of a difference and it doesn't make the Caraval series disappointing just because I've read the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. And I hope I don't go into the Caraval series with a particular expectation, but I cannot wait to get my hands on Caraval and just jump right back into that world. I love her writing style so much and I miss it so much since reading Once Upon a Broken Heart series. So I have a very high expectation. Hopefully Caraval can kind of reach it, but I'm not too sure. Judging by the reviews, it does seem like Once Upon a Broken Heart is very different to Caraval, but let's see. The next book series was The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I really wanted to read this in the winter of 2024. I had plans to read this series, but then for some odd reason I just didn't, because a lot of things were happening during that time, I think, and I forgot. And I think I picked up Prisoner's Throne, and I read a bunch of like different like standalone books during that time as well. I did fall out of reading for a bit as well, so I just never managed to get into The Hunger Games. Okay, the next question is the biggest letdown of the year of 2024. Now I don't think either of these books were written in 2024, but it's Prisoner's Throne and Twisted Lies. Prisoner's Throne, I went into this with a certain expectation and I got something completely different. The direction it went in was completely different, and also the themes that appeared, it was just completely different to the previous trilogy. That like it gave me a bit of a shock, but I did enjoy it for the most part. It is probably one of my favorite books I read in 2024, but it was still a letdown. It was still a very soft letdown. The other book was Twisted Lies. Twisted Lies was so disappointing because it was going so well for the first 75% of the book, and then something happened, and then it just so I'm gonna say what happens in this, actually, in this particular video. I didn't say it in my last video, but I'll say it in this one. Spoiler alert, just close your ears and go away for like 10 seconds. Basically, male lead stalks the female lead even before the female lead, I think, was acquainted with the male lead, and he was stalking her, he was getting information from her, and I don't think that's very healthy or very conducive to a good relationship that's equal. I really did not like it after that, and I just had to. I remember reading this as an audiobook, and I was stood at a traffic light and I was listening to it, and I was like, oh my god, he literally said he stalked her. And I lost my brain. I was like, wow, the bar is in the ground, like it's in hell and it keeps going through the hell. It was a really big letdown, especially because it was one of the Twisted series books where the male lead and the female lead had some good sort of equal grounding in chemistry, which wasn't sort of based on like power imbalances. It didn't seem really off. It seemed like both of them were into it, and there was no loss of agency for the female character. Okay, the next question is, book you read that was on your TBR the longest. The book I read that was on my TBR the longest has to be The Stolen Heir, because ever since I read the Cruel Prince trilogy, Stolen Heir just straight away went into my TBR, and I only managed to read the duology last year, and I think last year, this year, and it was nice, but it could have been better, I think. But I can't wait for the new series or new books that Holly Black is coming out with. I think she's jumping right back into the same world, and I think she's going to base her new books on Jude and Cardan, so I'm really excited to see how their relationship has progressed and what's going to happen next, and whether again there's going to be a shift in tone or shift in themes or anything like that. I'm really excited. I do love Holly Black as an author, and I do trust her intuition a lot. The other book on my TBR was surprisingly Once Upon a Broken Heart. I watched a video by a booktuber maybe 2 years ago recommending Caraval, and then saying if you are more of a romance fan, Once Upon a Broken Heart would be more suitable to you, and it has been on my TBR since maybe 2 years ago. I'm happy and glad that I got into it. It's probably one of my favorite series, probably like on the same, if not just below Cruel Prince, I would say. The next question is, favorite book you read this year? My favorite book of the year has to be Babel, by a long shot. I really enjoyed Babel so much. It just spoke to me in a different level. It was relatable, it was inspiring, it put a mirror to me, and I felt really called out, and I felt really almost a yearning for traditions and for my mother tongue, and actually relearning my mother tongue. And I don't think any book has inspired me that much in a long while, but Babel has to be one of my favorites. And the other one is Once Upon a Broken Heart series, obviously, just because it was unpredictable series. Honestly, I went into this series very blind, and I was just completely surprised by everything that happened. It felt very similar to my experience reading Cruel Prince, because reading Cruel Prince on my first round, ooh, that first book and that first plot twist, I was yelling into my pillow. It was amazing. The next question is, new favorite authors you found this year? Unsurprisingly, R.F. Kuang and Stephanie Garber. R.F. Kuang for Babel, and Stephanie Garber for Once Upon a Broken Heart. But I would probably read their shopping list at this point. Question 6. Author that didn't work out for you this year. One of them was Megan Quinn. She wrote So Not Meant to Be, and I remember seeing so many positive reviews of her books that I had a very high expectation for her romance and character building, and it just all fell flat. And also, I don't remember much about the book. So the other author is Jennifer Barnes, who wrote Inheritance Games. Unfortunately, this book also fell flat. I was expecting a certain level of mystery and madness, and it just didn't reach it. There was just a little bit to go. Then yeah, it was a bit disappointing, not gonna lie. The next question is debut author you read this year that you loved, and that will have to be Caleb Azuma Nelson for Open Water. And unsurprisingly, honestly, if you've watched my previous video, you will just know how much I love Open Water. It caused me to cry in the middle of British History Museum. It was insane. It was such a good book, and I cannot wait to see what he comes up with next. The way he uses the English language is insane. I went back and read some of the lines that I had highlighted and underlined and written comments on, and oh boy, it's so good. And the next question is favorite book boyfriend of the year, and I have two answers for this. The first answer, I don't really know if I can say. Okay, this is gonna be a very spoilery answer, but Jax from Once Upon a Broken Heart is one of my favorite book boyfriends of the year. He is just a splendid book boyfriend. He basically does everything to save his girly pop, and it was so beautiful to see. Honestly, like, I love a groveling man, and he was a very big groveling man, and that last book just, it hit me so hard. The other book boyfriend of the year for me was Kai from Paolo, where he talks about the main character whose name has completely gone out of my brain, is amazing. Kai is just a sweetheart. He's so sweet, and I hope he doesn't get hurt in the third book, but I feel like he's going to be. He's had too much going for him, but let's just see. Let's see what happens. He's just really sweet, and he's just really kind and really supportive of his girlie, and the chemistry between them is really nice as well, and he basically tries to keep her safe, which I think is so important. The final question of the book tag is favorite indie book, and I don't really know what is defined as an indie book, so I can't come up with an answer for it. Hopefully next year I'll get into indie books, whatever they mean. I'm guessing it means sort of like very unpopular, very niche kind of book, which hopefully I do want to get into those type of books which doesn't come up sort of, you know, everywhere and anywhere, and it's not like on display in every single bookshop. With books that aren't on display in bookshops and stuff like that, it does sometimes mean that the book itself is really bad. And that's all the questions for the book tag. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and comment, and obviously subscribe, do all the things, and I'm excited to see you in another Endless Plot Holes video.